go ahead and get started. We're going to try to get finished up a little bit early. Don't get too excited, you know. I'll talk real fast and cover this real quickly. Okay, yeah. All right. So welcome back this afternoon. We're going to be looking at senses, sensory processing, and what does that mean in the classroom, and what may be some of the strategies that we could use for our kiddos, and what are the sensory processing, we're not going to call them disorders, but what are some sensory issues that we may see with the kids that we work with. Again, I'm Doug Smith. Glad you folks have been here all day today. Thank you for being here, and I hope you've enjoyed the day as much as I have. I've had a blast. I've laughed a little bit. Enjoyed being with you folks, and thank y'all so much for your attention. All right, so this is kind of new. I'm nervous. I'm going to have my colleagues, of course, pitch in, and you all talk as well, and we just interact with this presentation. So all behavior has a meaning. And we've talked a little bit earlier this morning. You have behavior for one of three reasons. What was it? The two main reasons we talked about: to get something or to avoid something. And the other reason is sensory issues, right? Sensory things that we want to touch, sounds, smells, sights, taste, things like that. Those are some sensory issues, yeah. So those are some of the things that behaviors meet, and we express our behaviors through our senses as well as we interact with the world through our senses. So our brains continuously take in sensory information, and we have to process that. Is it something that I'm going to pay attention to and address, or is it something that I can just file away and go on without anything? You know, I love listening to music. Sometimes I listen to it for the words. Sometimes, was that me? Okay. Again, there's my alarm. Hit snooze again. Daggone, you got me awake for my nap. All right, good. So, like I said, sometimes I listen to music for the words. Sometimes I listen to music for the music, for the sound. And then sometimes I just listen to it because it helps me, believe it or not, concentrate or focus on what I'm doing. You know, so my folks that work with me, they're like, I can't listen to music. I was editing a video and listening to Pandora at the same time. And it's like, how do you do that? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just focused on what I'm doing right now. This is all background noise. So that sensory issues, those sensory processing method that I use with music and background noise, you know, I can still focus on what I'm supposed to. Not very long, of course, but I couldn't focus very long on not listening to music. So anyway, so we take in the information and make sense of what's going on around us. We interpret our behavior through a sensory lens. We have 8 senses. Did you know we have 8 senses? We have external senses and we have internal senses. And we'll talk about those briefly later on in this presentation. So our sensory system helps us to learn about the world around us. It helps us keep calm, keep safe, helps us stay regulated. You know, when you take in you take in stimuli from the environment around you, if I'm walking down the sidewalk and a dog runs up to the fence and starts barking and loudly, I'm taking that sensory input in and I'm going to run. I mean, because I don't know if that dog's going to eat me up or if it's a friendly or whatever, but that puts me into that flight mode. I'm scared. I'm getting away from that situation. I'm scared. I'm frightened. When I get frightened, I either tense up and stop or stand still, or I make a run for it. And I can run pretty quick to be an old man, trust me. So not very smart, but I can run pretty quick. So that's fight or flight. And then if it's something that I'm backed into a corner and I have nothing else to do, then I'm going to come out fighting. So our kiddos are the same way. Some of the things that they listen to or some of the things that they process, they put them into that frame of mind. It's either fight, I've got nothing else, I've got to survive, I've got to take care of myself. Frightened, I'm scared, I freeze up, I don't know what to do, somebody has to protect me, or I run away. So those are the things that we go into from sensing the environment around us, from our environmental stimuli. It helps us to attach and have social connections. When we can control our internal senses and we can control or self-regulate, then it helps you to build those social connections with folks around you, with your peers, your colleagues, with your students, those things like that. And it also communicates to others when our sensory systems are working correctly. You know, when they brought lunch in the other day, we had a taco bar, I think it was. And when they brought it in, I was sitting in my office and I could smell it, man. And I was like, oh, so all of a sudden, mouth started watering, nose, and took in that scent of those tacos. I was like, oh yeah, man, it's gonna be a good lunch. Get up here and they're all gone. So I mean, and it was like, rah, 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 rah. So, but anyway, it helps you to communicate with the folks in your environment. It helps you communicate with the world around you. So sensory processing is how our bodies process and organize information from our senses. We use that input to respond, like I said, and we use input from our senses for movement and gravity. Some of our internal senses, hold on a second, please. I'll save that for later. All right. So our senses, we have 8 senses. We have 5 external senses, and those are the ones that we're usually familiar with. So those are vision, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. So let's just do a little experiment. All right. So we're going to sit quietly. This is a little mindfulness activity you can use with your students. Have you ever heard of mindfulness? It's not really tuning out the world, but it is tuning into the world and into the environment, so you can focus more directly on what's at hand. So it's not, and so if you sit here quietly, think to yourself 5 things that you see in this room. Okay. Think about 4 things you could touch in this room. 4 things you could touch. So as you're thinking about the things that you're seeing, what are you seeing? What are the colors? What are the shapes? All right, and as you're thinking about touch, what would that feel like? If I'm thinking about the floor, I can feel the floor. Well, how does it feel? And I'm experiencing that through my senses. What are 3 things that you could hear? So what are 2 things that you could smell? And watch it with kiddos when you do this. No, you don't want them to answer out loud. And what's 1 thing that you could taste? So we processed our environment by using those 5 senses. The other 3 senses that we talked about are internal senses. These are things that are going on inside of us. The proprioceptive or proprioception is movement, muscles, and joints. That's where you feel those things. For me, some of our kids, they like to run, like to do those knee lifts, elbows, movement all the time. They're taking in that sensory stimulation in their proprioceptive sense. Their proprioceptive sense. All right, everyone stand up real quick. We're going to try a little trick. Yeah. All right, everybody sit back down. No. All right, so spread out a little bit. Now, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes, that's all right. Well, don't worry about closing your eyes because we'll just do this. All right, I want you to take your hands, put them together in front of you. All right. And now, if you feel like you're going to tip over, you're going to fall or whatever, please catch yourself. Don't fall. Or have somebody beside you to catch you. Somebody you can count on. Hands in front of you together. Raise your right foot off the floor. All right. Very good. Good job. All right.
My legs hurt.
Legs hurt. All right. So how does that feel? Wobbly. That is... Yeah, uneven. Right. I wobble. Like I said, I've got to catch myself quite often. That relates back to our vestibular system. And the vestibular system, or vestibular sense, is in your ear, your inner ear. So a lot of times if you have, I have balance problems or issues like that, it may have an inner ear infection. I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose, so I don't know. But all right.
We just got ear infection.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. I'm not old. I like that. All right, John, sit back down. Thank you. And then the last one we look at is interoception or interoceptive system. And that is, if you feel hungry, that's the internal. That's controlled by your organs, your internal organs. All right, so if we look at vision, if I talk about your external senses of vision, tell me what you think of when I ask you what does our visual system take into account. What do we use our visual system for? Our visual senses? To see, right. What do we see? Shapes, colors, people, textures, light, dark, lines, everything in the environment that we see. We have to, we take that into our brain and we have to process it, and all you have to determine is that pretty or is that, could use a little work, but I'll still, it just depends. Miss Stephanie's sister was vision impaired or blind, and so the way she sensed the world, her sense of vision was not as strong. She made up for it in the other systems of the body, the other senses, and she processed stuff differently than what we could. So.
It's really weird. My sister, like, my dad could come in and he always come in to the basement of the day because he worked with the gas company, so there would be certain smells, right? And she would know he was in the house before we would know he was in the house because she could smell the gas, or whatever they were working with that day, and she would be like, "That's over the phone." And so she knew. Yeah. Yeah, she didn't have to see it. She could hear him before he would ever come up the road, because she could hear the vehicle, and she could tell what vehicle it was.
Wow.
People were driving. So interesting, how she accommodated for that. I didn't hear a car moving, so I didn't know it was happening.
Wow, that's awesome. Next one is the smell. The sense of smell is directly related to your emotional, your emotions. I can remember. And it is Thanksgiving, going to Mom's, and walking in and just the smell just that aroma. If you could, what's the song? There's a song, if I could make a candle that smelled like, my memories, I could sell them, or maybe just sell one, and that's one of those things, certain smells are those tune-in things, we talked about it a little bit earlier, and remind you of that stuff. And man, I can smell turkey, and it just takes me back to going up Mom's, sitting there on the couch. All right, never mind. Got to go on. All right. Sense of taste. Our sense of taste helps us not just about nutrition, but it helps us to determine if something tastes good. If you like something or if you don't like something. And so our taste buds have several different receptors. You taste sweet, sour, salty, all those things through taste. Some of it is, and it's how we react to taste. And a lot of times we use taste for self-regulation. I like to eat when I get nervous or anxious or worried or whatever, but I chew gum, the Jolly Ranchers, our kiddos have to have maybe lifesavers, just be cautious with them. I love the cinnamon fire Jolly Ranchers. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, they quit making them, so yeah. Well, So I was at Mother's the other day, and I was going through the cabinet, and I opened this one box up, smelled some cookies. I opened it up, and there's a couple of Oreo cookies, and I got that tray out, and there's a bag of cinnamon fire Jolly Ranchers. Woo! I was like, all right, is this eat these now, or is this my boy's inheritance fund? So I'm thinking, eat them now. They ain't gonna last that long. So your taste does relate to your self-regulation. Sometimes, chewing gum helps you if you're nervous. It helps you to concentrate. So, some of our kiddos, chew gum or chew on things. So, hearing. Hearing is involved with, of course, locate where sound is coming from. I have a terrible time in a large crowd determining who says something and where it came from. So I'm always looking around and see if someone said anything. Also, it helps you to screen out noises that we need to screen out, and it helps us determine what's important and what we need to pay attention to. Sometimes there's stuff going on that we don't have to pay attention to. And I don't know what it is. Miss Dion says she has terrible hearing, but everything I say she seems to hear. So the good and the bad, mostly the bad or inappropriate, but that's what she catches me on all the time. And so there'd be 15 people sitting there talking to her, and I can say something whispered. I heard that. I believe she just got her mind. And then we discriminate between sounds that we need to pay attention to and background noise. The lights buzzing, the AC on and things like that. that don't bother me because I can screen that out. But some of our kids, they can zone in on that, and that's all they hear throughout the day. You know, they can hear someone walking down the hallway. You may not even hear or pay any attention to it, but they can hear those the shoes on the tile, and they pay attention. They got to see what's going on. Who is that? Why is that happening? And then touch. Touch is the it says this is the hold on a second, largest sensory system of all. We have receptors throughout the body that are aware of touch, and it talks about need to be able to reach out and touch the world around us. You know, how do babies experience the world around them? Through touch, and then what? Taste, right? Touch and taste. Everything, they grab it and it goes in their mouth. You know, I didn't get far from that. Everything I walk by it's edible. Touch it, grab it, eat it. I mean, I'm just saying. So babies, that's the way they experience the world. So touch is, you know, the largest sense organ, or the largest sensory processing system in our body. It also talks about you got a set amount of touch you need each day, and you get that amount of touch one way or another. So, yeah, I never thought of that. And you have to be able to tolerate touch, to learn, to feel, and to interact with others. And so a lot of our kiddos, they're hyposensitive to touch. They don't like to be touched, and so it is difficult for them when they're playing games where there's touching and things like that. So our internal organs we'll talk about, are not organs, but our internal senses. Proprioception, it's body awareness and positioning. It is, okay, how many can drive a stick shift? Anybody? All right, yeah. My peeps right there. Yeah, all right. So a little bit. Yeah, it depends on how old it is. Yeah, okay, I'm the same way. I got old one, but anyway, so you use your proprioceptive system in order to do that. You have to know where your body is, what your left foot's doing, what your right foot's doing, your right hand, where your left hand's at, how you're looking in the mirror, looking ahead of you. You have to know all that stuff and what's going on without even having to think, all right, now left foot on the clutch, or is that the brake? Which one do I do? Which one's the gas? You just do it automatically because that is that system in your body knows where you are within the environment and within that setting, so that you can control that. The vestibular system, again, is directly related to balance. And so as we saw with our little experiment, if you try that with your eyes closed, it's a little more difficult than with your eyes open. So like I said, make sure you got somebody to catch you if you want to do that. And then interoception, this helps you interpret signals from your internal organs. This is the thing, your tummy rumbles and growls when you're hungry. And so that lets you know you're hungry, lets you know when you have to go to the restroom, lets you know when you're tired, lets you know when you've worked out or exercised a little bit. Let's see, yeah, regulate functions of the body, and it helps with physical reactions to pain, to bad news. You know, you ever get bad news and you just feel like you get being punched in the gut? You know, that's your interoceptive senses that is processing that for you. Yeah, we heard it auditorily, but we felt it in our gut. It was just felt bad, and we just didn't feel right. So that system does come into play. And some of our kiddos we work with, they take things, you know, just a minor thing that we wouldn't think would be anything at all. They turn it into something that's horrible for them, and they just feel bad about it. Right. So when sensory processing goes wrong, we have hypersensitive, that's overstimulated. Then they're oversensitive, and sometimes they avoid senses. We have hyposensitive, which is understimulated. Hyper means they get too much stimulation. Hypo means there's not enough stimulation, so they seek out that stimulus. It may be noise. We did an example this morning. This little girl kept saying the Pledge of Allegiance louder and louder and louder until she was the loudest person in the classroom, and everyone else calmed down. We figured that she was doing that because of that auditory system that needed that stimulation. And then we have sensory craving. And sensory craving, we'll talk briefly about those, but sensory craving is kind of strange. It is similar to hyposensitive, but it is, they crave that sense, that feeling or whatever, but they get no relief from it. Have you ever had the kiddos that wanted to turn the music up real loud, and when they turn it up real loud, oh, turn it down, turn it down. It's like, I need to hear that loud noise, but then after a couple seconds, no, that's not what I needed. I don't know what I need. So that is that sensory seeking. They know that they need something, but they're not sure what they need. Okay, so we'll look at these quickly, like I said, because we've got to get into our little goodie box and talk to you about that. So some of the things that we want to talk about as far as vision, oversensitive or overstimulated visual things, they withdraw from light sources. How many of our kids like to have the lights turned down low? Yeah. I do at times have lights turned on, and then at times I got to have everything in the house on. Yeah, man, everything got to be bright. Got to see where I'm going and see what's around the corner. So that would be hyposensitive. Well, you got to have everything real bright. Another thing is with hypersensitive, kiddos lose their place when they're reading. As you're reading from left to right, some of our kids can't keep on the same line. I was doing something the other day, and I was having difficulty transferring from this page to this page, and it was just very simple stuff. And then my colleague he showed me, he took a piece of paper and laid it down there and said, here you go, this will help you out. And so, yeah, it helped, but I was having a difficult time. Then they also have struggle with eye contact. A lot of our kids, in our culture, it's like, when I'm talking to you, you look me in the eye. Some of our kids, they have a difficulty with that eye contact thing. And in some cultures, it is inappropriate for kids to look you in the eye as well. So, they look down or whatever, but eye contact. And then some hyposensitive or under stimulated, stare at spinning objects, then spin their own bodies to gain visual feedback. Some little fellows can spin around in circles forever and never get dizzy. I spin around half the time, I'm like, golly, I'm out, I'm done. Somebody pick me up. Some strategies to replace those oversensitive things are minimize visual stimulation, of course. If we can turn the lights down low, turn the lights down low. If we can provide them with some way that they're struggling with reading and writing, some way that they can track without, like I said, put a ruler on a line of paper. Just take another sheet of paper, and that way they can kind of move it down a bookmark. They move down each line as they read. Reduce clutter. Oh my gosh. Does anyone? My desk, right now, you couldn't find anything on it, but I know where everything is. And somebody said, you need to clean that desk. Well, if I do, I won't know where anything's at. So, yeah, but I do need to reduce clutter. And then use clear boxes for items so kids can see them easily. Hyposensitive strategies increase visual stimulation, of course. Hand gestures, extra visual supports, lots of color and movement. Remember, these kiddos are understimulated. They need that stimulation to help them out there. Some smell, gag or sick when they encounter certain smells, Yeah, we're the same way as adults. There's certain smells like, I don't know how in the world you handle that. So kiddos are the same way. Can you think of any smells? I had a kid that, we talked about the smell of peanut butter, but I had a kid that could not stand it was smell of popcorn. It just made him sick every time he smelled popcorn. And so I don't know if he overindulged in some popcorn and made him sick, but he couldn't stand the smell of popcorn. So,
I'm that way with vinegar. I got pea stain when I was little. My mom wrapped my legs in paper bag soaked in vinegar.
Right.
And I was like 9 or 10, and to this day it makes me want to throw up when I smell vinegar.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Great example. I'm sad that you...
Vinegar's terrible.
Vinegar? Yeah. Clorox, to me. And chestnut trees. Oh my gosh, I can't stand the smell of chestnuts. I like them, but the tree, the blue, oh man, yeah, that smell gets me. I get sick every time. And then some kids struggle at meal times and get distracted by smells. Undersensitive, they crave certain smells. Some of my boys love the smell of those expo markers, dry erase markers. Yeah. Oh, that's right. They're safe. It says non-toxic, so you're okay. Yeah. Yeah. I used to like to smell those markers too. Yeah. I said, give me up, boys. Y'all don't need that. Oops. We have to edit that out. Sometimes our kiddos fail to identify unsafe smells, and they may be drawn to strong odors such as bleach. So a lot of our hand sanitizers and things like that, we got to be very cautious with those things because kiddos like that smell, and they spray it on their hands or whatever. So just be cautious of that. And then some strategies: limit exposure. Refrain from wearing strong perfumes. I got this lady friend, she owns this little business, and the gentlemen that come into the business, there's certain perfumes that causes her to have a bad reaction, and she has to leave. And so, one day she said, can you walk outside with me for a minute? I didn't know what was going on. Heck, next thing you know, we'd walked around the block twice. So, now, wait a minute, I ain't coming out here anymore if we got to exercise. But she had to get away from that perfume. And then also some strategies for hyposensitive. Provide safe, appropriate methods such as lotions, scented candles. Be cautious with candles though. We had a situation in one school where the smell of the candle kind of caused the students to have worse behaviors and worse reactions. Provide regular activities with smells. And then use scratches, sniff stickers, which are really cool. So taste, gag easily sometimes at the thoughts of certain foods. Don't like to mix foods and food textures. My boys I had when I first started, they had to have this little tray was the peas, this little tray was the carrots, this little tray was the mashed potatoes, and this was the nuggets. And if anything touched, it all went in the trash because it destroyed everything. So you got to keep everything separated. Have difficulty with food textures and are fussy eaters. Do we have any fussy eaters?
I have all of my children. Textures.
All the kids, it's textures.
Myself.
Oh, yourself? You as well? Yeah, textures, the taste, just the consistency or whatever it is.
Like I can't swallow bananas.
Bananas, wow. Huh. Yeah, okay. Give her mush them up. And then some undersensitive, they're always putting things in their mouths, chewing on clothing, their hair, their fingers. I've seen kiddos chew on their shirt and stuff like that. So then some strategies, encourage the jewelry. What was those little candy necklaces you used to be able to get? Things like that. Activities such as blowing bubbles, whistling, that might help before meal times. And encourage crunchy foods, pretzels, celery, crackers, apples, ice cubes. Those are some strategies to use with that. Hearing, distracted by sounds that others do not notice, like we already talked about a little bit. The fans, the lights buzzing, the AC kicking on and off. Someone tapping a pencil. Those would be things that may be distracting to them, but not to others. Pardon? Oh, sorry. That worked. Try that strategy. Our kiddos may be startled by, distracted by unexpected sounds, background noises. We had an active shooter training in here, and they came in, and we were sitting here watching a video, and they was talking. The next thing you know, there was sounds, sounded like gunshots going off in the building, and it was like everybody ducking and jumping and looking. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm not at the house. What's going on? And y'all know what I'm talking about. You got neighbors, yeah. So yeah, that's normal. But anyway, all right. So look at hyposensitive. They don't respond to verbal cues or having their name called. The difficulty understanding, remembering what's said, talking through tasks and instructions as they perform them. Some of my folks process things that way by talking through it while they're doing that activity. So that's fine, but they need that sense, they need it stimulated is what it is. And then of course, noise canceling headphones, extra time, and then reduce sound distractions if possible. Touch, we've already talked a little bit about textures, talked a little bit about misinterpret light touch as painful or respond in a negative way, pull away from hand holding, avoid messy play. You know, so then some they decreased awareness of being touched or bumped into, unless it's with extreme force, you know. And then awareness of dirty hands or face. My little nephew, son, he run around all day long, dirty hands and face filthy, man. I'm like, man, go wash your hands. They not dirty. You don't know where the dirt ends and the skin begins. I mean, yeah. So yeah, they dirty. So look at allow children to wear gloves if possible. Warn ahead of time of messy activities, and then introduce texture slowly to these kiddos. And look at deep pressure activities, weighted blankets on the lap, around the shoulders. Of course, I'm not saying give everybody a weighted blanket, but you know, just be aware of that. That could help. Use a backpack that you could put things in that they can carry down the hallway with them. That helps them with that transition, but it also helps them with that feeling of touch and giving them something to carry, weight them down, and it, you know, just helps them to focus on what's going on around them. Then let's see. All right. Proprioception, things that you may see. I'm not going to read these to you. We'll pick out a couple of these things, or I'll give you a couple of minutes or a minute. Y'all read through these. Do you see any of these things? I had my little fellas, they'd touch the walls and everything. Everything they walked by, they had to touch. All right, you know, so they come to school, first day of school. School is clean, pretty, everything's where it's supposed to be, everything's real nice. You know, these little fellas come from an environment that they were just happy to have something to sleep on under, you know, so they were touching everything because they needed to. They needed to see what that felt like to be clean and stuff like that.
We have rockers that'll rock back and forth.
All right, okay, yes. Yeah. Do you have different seating, like the wobble seats and things like that? They just.
But we do have bean bags.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen some kids just sit on the bus and just rock. You know.
We have a drummer.
Drummer. Give him two. Teach him. Make sure he uses it correctly, the correct hand holding position.
Now Betty just takes it.
So these kiddos are lean or bump into items, not knowing it, you know. And then a lot of this stuff deals with heavy work. You know, if you got a kiddo that's doing these things, have them do wall push-ups. Just have them those heavy strengthening activities or pushing against the wall or whatever. That way it helps them exert that energy, plus it meets that need of having to do that heavy work. Then we have, wait, I went backwards. We'll go forward. Went backwards too far. Oh, okay, no, I didn't go backwards. So vestibular, again, deals with balance. Some of the things that you'll see is hesitant to take risks, avoid movement, may be fearful of heights. Other kiddos are thrill seekers. They jump and climb everything around. So, you know, yeah, we got some of those for sure. So in order to meet that, we'll give them regular break movements so that they can get up and exercise and provide alternative seating as well. And then these are the interoceptive. These are overeating and not feeling full, not feeling hungry, not aware of when they're feeling poorly. You know, I had a lady come in today. I said, you know, grab you a salad if you want. Nothing looks good. So her interoceptive system was understimulated, so, you know, needed something to look good for her in order to get something to eat. So I was going out to eat, get something last night to eat, and I was like, well, I want something, but I don't know what I want. You know, and so I was like, all right, where am I taking me? And I pulled out my popsicle sticks. Oh yeah, well, Pizza Hut. All right, there we go. Yeah. So then we get tired of that when we hide that popsicle stick. That's not a choice I want now. I always ask my mom. She'd say, all right, I'd ask my mother. I said, okay, Mom, what do you want to eat? She said, I don't know. Where are you taking me? And I knew where she wanted to go, but I'd give her the opposite choice. She did not like Burger King at all. I said, Burger King. She said, I knew you was going to take me to Circle T. And I was like, all right, thanks, I appreciate it. I said, you could have just told me, that'd been easier. But anyway, so, and then some of these things, strategies look for, and this PowerPoint is available to you if you scan that QR code, take your placemats with you, scan that QR code, this PowerPoint, all the handouts and stuff's available. So yeah, so we can get into our goodies. But some calming strategies for over-responsiveness, tactile, vestibular, these are on there. And I gave you a handout. So everyone at your table or whatever, yeah, everyone come up and get one tote, please. And when you, let me repeat my instructions first. Everyone's going to come up and get a tote. You're going to open that up. You're going to look through these totes, and there's other stuff that I have to get out to you. Like I said, didn't get everything in. But you look through those, and you're going to pick an activity in that tote that you could use with your kids, and you're going to, as a group at your table, come up with that, talk about that activity, and be able to present it to the rest of the group. Does that make sense? I've got 5 or 6 activities in there. You get one of them out, pick it out. It don't matter if you use the same one. But everyone gets a tote. So come on up and grab one. Go first?
We'll go first.
All right, here we go. All right, so, yeah. All right, so.
So, we're going to start breathing in and tracing.
We choose this.
All right, so stand up. All right, so stand up and tell us about it a little bit. And someone hold the mic, and then everyone pay attention, please. And she's going to tell you.
She's going to tell.
What I'd like for you to do is tell me what activity you're doing, and it is a breathing activity to help calm and regulate, and how you would use that activity. Thank you.
We're going to do the breathing cupcake. It's about breathing and staying calm. It's got the tactile, the texture here that you use on the way when you're breathing too. So you inhale first. So you hold your breath. You exhale. Let all the tension out.
Yeah. All right. Good. Thank you.
Breathing is doing it, I guess that tactile kind of calms you down.
Yes, I would think.
Because that's.
All right. Cool. All right. So yes, you could start either spot on this. Looks like. And I love these cards because the instructions are on the back if you need that help. But so start with number 1. It says so you're going to start over here. You're going to breathe in. Breathe in, breathe in, hold that breath, exhale, 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 and back to start. All right, thank you. All right, y'all next? All right.
All right, we got these little card thingies here.
Hop up there. Tell us what you want
I
to
don't want to be the speaker now. I'll be the demonstrator.
You demonstrator? All right. So these ladies are going to be using our yoga chips.
I'll speak. I'll demonstrate.
These ladies are going to be using the yoga chips to help us, and let's give them some attention, please. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have those little yoga cards, and we are going to act something out, and you have to guess what it is.
Oh.
That's our interpretation of this.
Okay, your interpretation, that'll work. Also, these are just some yoga poses, and yoga has been,
Okay, well then you tell me how we're going to pose this one then.
well, which one are we posing?
We don't want to say it out loud.
Oh, oh, okay.
I don't think that's what we're supposed to do. You said come up with an activity.
I love it. Awesome. Great job. Great job. I'm glad these have got instructions with them. Just saying. Awesome job. Thank you.
Let me go no higher than kindergarten.
You understand why, don't you?
All right, who's next? You folks? All right. Yes. All right. Someone stand up, everyone. Who's going to talk? Who's going to hold the mic?
They're going to make me talk.
All right.
So we're going to do the conversation cards. So you can do them like when they come in in the morning. I can probably talk louder without a mic.
All right.
When they come in the morning, and I seen one that said like, I lost it, but it said like, today's going to be a good day, and to name 2 things about today that are going to be good. So you could talk with them about that stuff.
Good. Yes, yes. Oh, I love the way you said when they come in the morning.
Yes.
It kind of sets them off on that right foot and it gets them going and positive steps along the way. Hey, how y'all doing? Oh, fall over. You ready?
Oh, okay.
All right.
But we're just going to use the poppets.
Okay.
For math, like you can, they're bigger, so you can do arrays. They can count on them, like pop for every one, skip count, do odds, evens.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
you can tell them 2s, 4s, 6, they can pop them.
Yeah.
But we have some that are bigger, so we can see a lot.
Okay, cool. Good. I love the way you adapted it to an instructional activity as far as the math is concerned. Right. Great job. Thank you. Awesome job. All right. You folks ready? Yes. All right.
She don't.
All right, let's hear it.
We're going to use the Be the Best You Can law, and when they're having a bad day, we'll get it out and let them try to think of some positive things.
Maybe about themselves or about their neighbor or,
Or kindness, something they have done with kindness, or some coping strategies that we could incorporate to help them.
Great job. I love the way that you're going to use that, the coping strategies, and then use it with the students when they're having difficult times. I like the way that you brought in the kindness things that we've done for kindness and order, things like that. Awesome. You folks ready?
yeah, but I don't want no mic.
All right, you got to talk loud, young lady.
The fidgets just for like when they're having a hard time with focusing on like their work, or we're doing carpet time, or I have little, so I say carpet time. But if they're not focusing, they need a fidget so that they're able to pay attention. Because the whole time I've been here, I've actually had my own fidget.
Yeah.
So that's how I've been paying attention and being able to focus. So like with the little fidgets, that they can use those to like focus.
Good. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I like the way you brought in that I've used my own.
Yeah.
I see you've been doodling or drawing as well, so that's great. That is and if you think about it, we all use our own ways of focusing and paying attention. So thank you all. Great job. And so we got. I've got other things, like I said, make sure I get your names and what school you're at or what district you're with, and I'll get those other goodies out to you. So just please take these boxes, use them, if you can, or think of other ways that you can use them besides what's there, because it's like playing card games. Nobody likes to play by the rules unless I make the rules, and that way I win all the time. So, thank y'all so much. Miss Dion. This and this.
You turn that off. Thank you, Doug. We appreciate you as always. So one last thing, on that placemat, there's a feedback form. If you guys could give us some feedback, we collect that. We have to do that as part of when we do professional development. We have to collect feedback on that and turn that in. If you could scan that and do that feedback, that's your exit slip out of here.